So yes, here we are. Um, I guess we're just kind of waiting for everybody to kind of arrive.
We can. I'll let you know. My questions are not with the 3D printed mount. My equipment is too heavy for that, so I'm going to be sending that back.
Okay.
I'm curious if there's anyone I could be paired up with who has the Star Watcher Sky Adventure or Sky Adventure or Star Watch or whatever, the GTI version of that thing. Um, I've been working with it and making some progress, but I'd love to work with somebody else who actually knows what they're doing, so that maybe I can know what I'm doing.
Right. So that's a particular type of mount that you had purchased.
Correct.
Okay. So what I would suggest is ask those questions in the Discord,
Okay.
and hopefully there might be other photographers who have used that particular product and can.
There were a few folks who did also say they were using it. They have not responded yet to my comments about, hey, maybe we could partner up on this one. I
Okay.
think they're looking for the same thing, maybe.
Mm, that that's kind of a problem, a real big problem when you're doing group work, when everybody else has the same issue.
Yep.
So I see there's two other gentlemen here. Let's start my video here. Okay. I hope this is a little bit more personable for you rather than a dark screen. Um, hmm. Let's see here. I also need to purchase a heavier mount. Yes. So if your equipment is kind of on the heavy side, you will definitely want to purchase a mount more suitable for your equipment. I would always, even though these do an okay job, they're really for pretty lightweight equipment. Um, I made a training video on how to use this particular mount that we have, and edited it today, in fact. And it was reviewed by Dar a little bit earlier, and it needs to be reviewed by a couple of other people before we release it on to the group. And it's basically really like this mount here. It's really targeted for the newbie, the beginner. It's not really for the pros. Um, but it will work on see, I think we tried a Canon R on Friday with a 300 millimeter lens, and it worked admirably with in the construction of that video. But it isn't for everyone, and we do understand that. So if there's any other questions or comments, or anything that I can try to help you with, if it's okay, I will use your mount to a smaller camera with a smaller lens for atmosphere video. That's perfectly okay. Yeah, that's fine. And if you, Daniel, if you don't find anybody to help you, um, just yeah, just go ahead in the chat. Just put down, the make and model of your mount, and I'll try to do some research.
Sure.
If you have any specific issues with it, just also include that in the chat. I'll just copy and paste that. I'll put this on one of the tasks that I can do tomorrow is do some research in that regard. That way you feel a little bit of love, you know what I mean? I like to spread it around if I can. I might not be able to get an answer to you, but at least I will do my best to try to see if I can point you in the right direction.
Okay, I just posted a link to the exact model and the name and everything.
Okay. Cool. How far did you get on it?
Well, I was able to connect it to my phone, and I was able to manually move it around on my phone. Um, I can find True North. I don't know, everybody knows this. The iPhone actually has a setting to say don't use magnetic north, but use true north. And so you can use that. I did that. But then I, I got it pointed at the sun the other day, but then I could not for the life of me figure out how to say, okay, now start moving and just follow it.
Okay.
I have no idea what to do after that. I'm not sure that I did the other stuff right. I was just kind of mashing buttons until it was there, but that was, I was able to get that point.
Okay. All right. So I jotted down the issue that you're having with it is you need to get it to actually start moving along, tracking with the sun.
Yeah.
Okay. Is your plan, just for curiosity, is your plan to basically use your phone to kind of do the remote control function for the mount? Or just
For the mount, yes.
Okay.
That's one of the features of this one is that it's got it broadcasts its own Wi-Fi signal, so you can actually connect your phone to it, and then you have an app on your phone to control it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to look to see if I can do the bracketing photos from my laptop, or I may just do it built into the camera. It's got some capabilities to do that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'll see what I can dig up for you.
Okay, thank you. I
that
appreciate
regard.
that.
Just for curiosity, what's your handle in Discord?
On the Discord, I am. Let's see who am I? Let's see. I'm Flaxman.
Blacksmith. Cool. Okay. So I'll know if I do dig up something, I know who to address.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it.
I'll private you
Okay.
and if it's useful to you, we can share it with the rest of the group.
Oh yeah, by all means. If I can figure this out, I would definitely, I will record a video of myself doing it and so that others, because I know there's a few other folks at least that have this model.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm happy to record a video and show others, you know, here, I got to work. That's what I did.
Cool. Any other questions from any of the other volunteers who's here?
I can explain just the setup I have, a couple of the minor issues that I'm having. I have
Okay.
an Ioptron Sky Tracker, Sky Guider, and I shot the annular one in Albuquerque. I live in San Diego, so I had to travel and I didn't have the ability to do the markings before, but I was able to get it so that it tracks on the sun. I have a Sony A7 III with the 200 to 600, so I'm full at 600 at the annular in practice right now. And I'm able to get it so that it finds so I can point it so it's at the sun, and it'll track with it for a good 30 minutes or so before suddenly it'll fall out of frame. And I'm assuming that's because I don't have a precise polar alignment on that.
Right. When you don't have that precise polar alignment, that angle
Yeah,
in which you do the sweeping arc is not the same as the sun. And so I've encountered this even with this mount when it's not properly polar aligned.
Okay.
That I noticed that there's a left right drift, and it would eventually it'll just drift out of the frame.
Right.
So the key thing is to definitely get that polar alignment if you can you do that within. Are you using software to control it or?
I'm using, I have a Samsung and I'm using the Compass app, using True. It has a true and magnetic, so I make it go true, and I keep it away from my tripod, line it up. I get the point. I know I'm at around 35 degrees. I think it may be 33. I might have been a little too high at the azimuth. Is that what that's called? The height part? Yeah, that part.
Yeah,
So, I'm going to do a lot more practice on that, but the only issue I really have is it slowly drifts off there.
right.
Now, during the eclipse, the only part we really care about is maybe a
4 minutes.
15-minute period, right? So I'm like, on one hand, I'm not going to sweat it,
Right. For the
but I'm
eclipse,
taking lots of pictures before, I'm
I see.
capturing the whole thing. So I'm
Right.
hoping for something nice.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, my guess is probably improper polar alignment
Okay.
will cause that drift.
Any suggestions? Do I get a regular compass? Do I continue to use an app, keeping it away from, the metal tripod?
Well, you can try experimenting with the app a little bit. I think in the guide we used although it's not particularly well, it could be somewhat precise. It's the nail method in the sundial.
Oh, I
So
saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
yeah,
And I have to read more up on that.
right. So basically, you would find for the particular day that you're going to do your photography on, you'd figure out what your solar noon is.
Okay,
Um, and let me pull up that guide.
sure.
I have it open right now as we speak. Let me see if I could find that section. And believe it or not, it was a student that kind of came up with that method.
Hmm.
Mm, And actually, it's quite. I kind of find it quite ingenious because I surely did not have a solution to that particular problem.
I know that when I was in Albuquerque, it worked nice. I only had to move it like 2 times. And I noticed it was pretty good, but the practice I've been doing here, sort of struggling a little bit. So I know that's my weakness is finding, and on Eclipse Day, that's going to be, the most stressful day, and location will be new. It's everything, all the things that could go wrong, could go wrong.
right. Okay, so let me share the screen here. Okay. So
Cool. Thanks for doing this. I remember seeing this thinking, oh, I got to take a look at this and know what's going on. So it's nice to go over this.
right. So basically for the particular day that you're doing your photography, um, you're finding out when solar noon is,
Hmm.
right? And you're marking a line in the morning. So like they say as little as a half an hour, but you could say about an hour before solar noon,
Hmm.
you would mark that point. So like in this case, this is representative of the morning.
Okay. Yeah.
And a little bit later, past solar noon, the same amount of time that's passed, so probably maybe an hour afterwards, and you
Hmm.
would mark that point. And then you would draw an equilateral triangle from the center of where this tack is. So we actually have a
Hmm.
little sundial that gets set on a piece of paper. It's a 3D printed thing.
Hmm.
But you can easily use a nail.
Okay.
And that's provided that it's perfectly perpendicular to the ground.
Right.
So
That's the key.
it can't be leaning in one way or another.
Okay.
And so the bisector of of this triangle
Hmm.
is the direction that points to north.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that's one way of determining it based upon the sun's position.
Now, this needs to be done at the location on the, or maybe a day before
You
the eclipse?
So I'm gonna say yes with a question mark. Each day is going to be a little bit different from one another, but not significantly so,
Okay.
right? Um,
Is solar noon like the equal times between sunrise and sunset in the sky where it is? Is that
I think there's like a little a link where you could find it.
okay?
And oh yeah, it's here. So it's timeanddate.com.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll take a look at that solar noon.
Right. So yes, so there's an STL that you can print out yourself if you have a 3D access to a 3D printer.
Mhm.
We were going to print off a whole bunch of these and send them out, but it looks like we're not going to have time to be able to do that.
Okay,
But this is a very simple way. If technology fails you, there's always an alternative way of a low tech way
sure.
of being able to determine that. And naturally, the precision of it will depend on how well you're able to orientate your camera's midline in that general direction.
Sure. Okay.
If that's helpful to you.
Yep, it is.
So yeah, this is most definitely in the guide. There was a bunch of experienced photographers who mentioned other types of apps. I know like my phone doesn't truly support, it doesn't have a magnetometer in it. And
Mhm.
so it's not going to work with any of those apps, unfortunately. And I basically had to do it the hard way, which was the night before I got behind it and literally looked through the barrel and pointed it at Polaris.
Sure, you find it in the night sky and say, okay, this is what it is.
Right, exactly. And that's good enough. That was good enough for my experimental shooting photography for the next day.
Mhm. Cool, thanks.
So I'll stop sharing here. Anybody else with other questions?
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
The mount that we got, the white one, what's that lever do? Yeah, what's the one on your left hand? What's that?
It's slew. It's the slew at one direction and the other.
Okay,
So basically, it's kind of like a fast forward. And because the rotation is so slow, it's on the order of this is a step motor,
hmm,
and each step we calculated it to be roughly 3.5 seconds between each step,
hmm,
and that should theoretically be, fast enough to keep up with the sun
sure.
in its rotation. But trying to get this thing positioned, the slew button just allows you to rotate it a little bit faster than letting it sit there and wait.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
I didn't know if it had something to do with speed or something like that, but
No,
kind of, but not really.
kind of, but it's more slewing to get it into its position. The only thing I don't like about it is it's a 3.5 second delay before it actually the program actually
Ah,
goes. So
yeah,
you have to kind of hold it for a moment and eventually it'll start to go.
okay. Mine did break, the mount did break, and I got a ball mount. Might have been you someone suggested a ball mount. I bought that,
Right.
put that on there, and I haven't
Yeah.
tested it yet, but
Yeah. So unfortunately, these do have certain limitations on how much weight that they can support.
yeah,
Um, and um, the cameras that we've have around here to test against, like Hannah's camera, for instance, was about 2 pounds. This is what we used on Friday to create the video.
Mhm.
I had another camera that I'm letting Dar use, and that was about 3 pounds.
Okay.
And the setup was sufficient for those, but it may not be sufficient for significantly heavier equipment.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's been the general report anyways, is some individuals had issues in regards to that because, well, they're using like a 500 mm prime lens or something like
Yeah.
that. It's significantly heavier than what the
Yep.
mount could handle. And yeah, that's unfortunate.
I have a second camera that, so my Ioptron's doing the big gun, and then I have another smaller body, smaller lens that I'm gonna put that one on and you let that one see how that goes.
Right. Yeah, try it and definitely let me know how it works for your secondary.
Sure, sure. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Um, so yes, we did actually create a video, but it was geared around using this mount on how, and it's primarily targeted to basically the newbie who's never used anything like that before, and how to get it onto a tripod. The other thing I kind of wanted to mention is most people, when they first time they use this mount, they're pretty excited and they don't think very much about putting their camera on. I know I didn't when I first
Right.
put the camera on, and I realized very quickly that what happens generally is that there's no counterbalance against the camera being the mount being top heavy, and it rips it like this.
That's right. I saw that the other day when I was playing around before I put a weight on it, right?
Right. So one of the things, and I tried to emphasize this in the training video, which I hope we would make it available pretty soon, is you should have a counterweight that's and this is all going to depend on your camera center of balance, right? So if a camera was sitting on here with lens and the center of balance from the fulcrum point to the center of balance is the camera, right? So it's say this distance, okay? And if we measured that distance on the bar that actually maintains the counterweight, so about two distances, is roughly about here, in the case of Hannah's camera. So if this camera was 2 pounds, then that means that the counterweight has to be at least 1 pound, right? Assuming distances, the doubling of the distance reduces the weight that's required to counterbalance that weight. Once you kind of calculated that, we just use the water bottle method. I know some people will actually have a mass, and that would be far better to use than this method, but this method was quick and dirty, and pretty much everybody will have a water bottle somewhere that they can do kind of a rough estimate of how much it weighs in comparison to their camera. And you want to put the counterweight on it first before putting the camera on.
Okay.
This way there's already weight that's being applied to the fulcrum before the camera gets loaded on.
Okay.
And this also reduces the opportunity, and of course, you'll want to tighten it down,
Yep.
right? So this reduces that opportunity of the mount being too top heavy, that it just swings down. I know because I've already done it, and I tried to organize the guide so that's the propensity in which you'll load the mount, is you'll put the counterweight on first and then load your camera on top.
Okay,
Um,
thanks. I'm gonna hop over to one of the Astro
Yep.
rooms too. Cool, thank you.
okay, so let's see, Russell, I have a Skywatcher Star 2 Adventure 2i. So are you having any problems with your mounts, or are you pretty good on that? Oh. Let me see if I can turn you up a little bit because I can't hear you. Mm. Yeah, I can barely hear you, man. Oh, you just received them out. Is it the one that we sent, or is it just the Skywatcher Star Adventure 2i? Okay, the Skywatcher. Yeah, what I would do is I would experiment with it and see if you can get a good working track of the sun. And we set up a section for Discord for different mounts. I don't see why not. In fact, I'm going to take that suggestion. Would you suggest that just a different section specifically for mounts? So what I'm going to do is, I see Hannah here. So I'm putting in a request. Let's see, maybe one for Opteron and one for Skywater. Okay, Skywatcher. Okay. Yeah, she says absolutely. Um, okay, so I went ahead and forwarded your request to Hannah, and she'll create the channels. Um, let me Skywatcher. Yeah, because I think Skywatcher is the same one as Daniel's using. So that might be an appropriate place to okay. Cool, Troy.